Fashion and architecture. Are they related? Are they different? Or are they two sides of the same coin? We shall try and find answers to these questions and many more in the upcoming presentation. Hi, my name is Nirvan Ghosh, and my presentation is about tangibility and material culture. In his book, The Hidden Dimension, author Edward T. Hall talks about two major receptors that humans possess: the distance receptors, the eyes, ears, the nose, and the immediate receptors, the skin, the membranes, and the muscles. He further goes on to add that the skin is the chief organ of touch and sensitive to heat loss and gain. So, in a way, it is both a distance and an immediate receptor. We can expand this to mean that we understand our world primarily by the sense of touch, not just by the sense of vision. This idea is further elaborated in the book The Eyes of the Skin, Architecture and the Senses by architect and writer Juhani Palasma. In the book, he quotes anthropologist Ashley Montague, who talks about the haptic realm taking primacy. She writes, "The skin is the oldest and the most sensitive of our organs, our first medium of communication, and our most efficient protector. Even the transparent cornea of the eye is overlain by a layer of modified skin. Touch is the parent of our eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. It is the sense which becomes differentiated into the others, a fact that seems to be recognized in the age old evaluation of touch as the mother of the senses." The book further goes on to say that all senses are extensions of the tactile sense. All sensory experiences are modes of touching and thus related to tactility and tangibility. Our contact with the world takes place at the boundary line of the self through specialized parts of our enveloping membrane, which is referring to the skin. Touch is the sensory mode which integrates our experiences of the world and of ourselves. My body remembers who I am and how I am located in the world. My body is truly the navel of my world, as the very locus of reference, memory, imagination, and integration. A similar idea is propounded in the Hindu Shastras. The shloka Aham Brahmasmi testifies to the fact that an individual brings his or her environment into existence by the mere act of perception. Taking this a little further, we can talk about three different types of tangibility. There is the tangibility of the self, the tangibility of environment, and the tangibility of the other. Fashion falls into the category of tangibility of self, and architecture falls into the categories of tangibility of environment and the other. Going back in time, early man had two modes of exploration: his body and his environment. You see evidence of this in cave paintings, where basically early man had started to fashion his environment based on his perceptions. When he moved to the plains, basic shelters using tree trunks, thatch, leaves had started to be made. Conversely, in places like Iceland during the Ice Age, you had shelters being made from animal bones and skin. We see examples of this in the Ramayana, where the characters Ram and Lakshman are seen wearing attire fashioned out of leaves. You also see hermits draped in animal skins. With the expulsion of Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden, material culture was established because they realized their shame in being naked. So they had to drape themselves and they had to find a new home to have shelter from the elements. The foundational treatise of Indian architecture, the Vastu Shilpa Shastra, talks about space being a microcosm of the universe in the form of the Vastu Purush Mandal, which is a representation of the cosmic man. The divisions within a space are determined by arms, legs, stomach, heart, head, etc. Indian architecture viewed temple structures as the body of the deity. As we can see in this drawing, the structure of the temple is laid out as if it were the parts of the human body, and significant axes were marked by significant joints and parts of the body. Ornament, facades, and materials thus became external embellishments for the body of this cosmic man. Indian temples themselves had their origins in the humble shelters of the common folk. Single cell shrines or simple pavilions were what gave rise to later massive temple structures. Religion was also a very personal journey for the common folk. Hence, there is evidence that temple structures originated from humble mobile shrines which were pulled from village to village by moving troops and theatre parties to spread knowledge and spirituality. Evidence of this is still visible today in the Rath Yatra in the city of Puri in the worship of the god Jagannath. We also have a strong tradition of palanquins or palkis, which were used to carry people as well as deities and were often made from temporary materials like wood, cloth, or fiber. There are many such examples of low culture moving to high culture in Indian history. Another such example is the Nauwari sari worn by the Maharashtrian women. Nauwari, or 9 yards, is a sari which is atypical from usual Indian saris. The typical Indian sari consists of 5 to 6 yards of cloth. For the Nauwari, the extra 3 or 4 yards is helpful to drape around the body in a way that mobility is assured. Women from the Koland fisher community, for example, would wear this sari on ankle or knee length in order to be able to fish easily. And this style of sari proved really effective for women going into war and battle. The Nawari sari has become a symbol of the Maharashtrian woman. As such, it is an identifying feature of the culture of Maharashtra. People from all walks of life and economic backgrounds wear it. It is also the only sari which has a numerical name, the 9 yard sari. Saris, much like architecture, are constructed from smaller elements woven together. Kanjivarams, Paithans, Nauwaris are all examples of saris which have been woven with great excellence and care to detail by Indian artisans. The combination of elements to make a greater whole is a big part of Indian art and architecture. We see several examples of composite elements within Indian art. Paintings showing composite animals, and temples which have fractal features of simple elements being multiplied to create bigger elements are profuse. Essentially, for architecture and fashion in India, the body remains the same, but the outer covering, whether it be of stone or cloth, keeps changing. So one can compare the graceful fractal geometry of temples with the sublime pleats of a Kanjivaram sari. The primary difference between the fields of fashion and architecture are the fundamental principles that guide them. Fashion is guided by mobility, dynamism. Architecture is guided by staticity or permanence. These gaps can be bridged by borrowing certain elements from each field into the other. If we can have moving castles like Howl's Castle or Dracula's Castle from Castlevania, can we also have static fashion? The future holds great things for both these fields. Thank you.